Hi, I'm Randall Troska from How to Manage Money Better, and today I'm going to teach you about the money basics. This is Module 1 from the How to Manage Money Better Academy that you can find at howtomanagemoneybetter.com. You can get access to the complete academy at howtomanagemoneybetter.com/academy. Basically what the academy is a step-by-step tutorial for how to clean up your finances as soon as possible. And so we're going to start today with the money basics. First, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about me in case you're wondering. I grew up in a middle-class family in the suburbs of Philadelphia. And when I was younger, I was a Boy Scout and eventually became an Eagle Scout. When I was a child, I always wanted to be a veterinarian. So I pursued that dream and I became a veterinarian by going to school at St. George's University down in the Caribbean. Partway through veterinary school, I calculated about how much I'd owe after school, and it turned out to be $250,000 of student loan debt. Comparing that with the average starting salary of $65,000 a year, it didn't exactly put me in a good financial situation. So from that point forward, I started reading a lot about personal finance and how to basically get out of debt and build wealth. And from that reading, I put together the How to Manage Money Better Academy. So basically, I wasn't in a good financial position, but I started reading, I started learning, and I figured a way to get myself out of debt and also help build wealth at the same time. And that's why I put together How to Manage Money Better. Basically so that no one else will have to go through the pain that I did, or at least they'll be able to learn from my mistakes and hopefully get out of debt and clean up their finances sooner. So after graduating school as a veterinarian, I've been practicing as a small animal veterinarian, working on dogs and cats, but also in my spare time I've been building up a few businesses to help create wealth. So one of the things that I was doing was investing in real estate, and I'll talk with you a little bit about that in one of the later modules. Now additionally, I've been blogging on this website, also a few other websites. I've also been a speaker. Now that's particularly just for a program I developed called Personal Finance for Veterinarians, How to Retire a Millionaire. If you're interested in that, you can find that at personalfinanceforveterinarians.com. And then on top of that, I've done a lot of research into search engine optimization and working in internet marketing. So those are a few of the businesses that I'm involved in. So today we're going to talk about how to be rich. So let's get started. To begin with, we're going to go over a few financial terms. So the first term is income. Most of you are familiar with this. Income is money coming in. Now there's a few different types of income. Income can be active, which is what most people do, where they go to work 40 plus hours a week and they get a paycheck every 2 weeks. Income can also be passive. This is something, for example, musicians who create an album and then they get residual income from that, or insurance salesmen who sell insurance policies and they get residual income. Basically, it's money that comes in without you having to actively work for it. The next term is expenses. Now, most people don't like expenses, and I'm just like most people. I don't like expenses either. But we have lots of them, and so expenses is pretty much money going out of your pocket. So an asset is something that makes you money without you doing anything. So some common assets: rental real estate, stocks, mutual funds, things of those nature that basically put money into your pocket if you're not doing anything. A liability, like this duck in the picture, is something that takes money out of your pocket. Basically, if you don't do anything, it's going to keep taking money from your pocket every month. So in this picture, the duck is a liability, but other common liabilities you might have could be a boat, you have your boat payment, could be a car, you have your lease, could be a house if you're living in it, because if you're just living in it, every month it's taking money out of your pocket. The next definition is poor. So someone's poor when their expenses are greater than their income. For example, looking at this picture here, this is someone living on the street and she's got a couple dogs. Now from being a veterinarian, I can tell you that dogs aren't cheap. The average dog is going to cost its owner about $15,000 over the life of its care. So, I mean, this person, aside from feeding herself, she has to feed 2 dogs, and I'm guessing she probably doesn't have too much income coming in. Next, you have someone who's broke. Being broke is a little bit better than being poor. Basically, being broke just means your expenses are equal to your income. So you're not saving money, you're not losing any money, you're just stuck in the middle. Everything that comes in goes out. The next is rich. So the definition of rich is someone who can light cigars with $100 bills. Nah, just kidding. Basically, when you're rich, your income is greater than your expenses. And by having your income greater than your expenses, it allows you to start saving the money, investing the money, doing great things with that money. And then beyond that, we have the uber rich. Now, the uber rich are the people whose income is so far beyond their expenses that they're just able to accumulate massive amounts of wealth. A couple examples here, Jay-Z and Warren Buffett. So basically, what's the difference between rich and poor people? Well, rich people own assets. Now, when I'm talking about assets, it could be things like rental real estate. It could be businesses like Richard Branson here, who owns Virgin. And those are things that are going to keep generating money for the rich, even without the rich working. So the rich build systems to help them produce money. The poor, on the other hand, own liabilities. Just like this picture here. I mean, they have a Lamborghini right in front of a trailer home. I mean, I see this and I get a kick out of it when someone's car is worth more than their house. But all jokes aside, that is a beautiful car, and I do hope to own one day when I start building up assets that can produce enough where I'll be able to afford that type of car. And I won't be living in a mobile home. Alright, so the key to be rich is to spend less than you earn. If you take a look at this picture, on the left you have your income, how much you make. On the upper right you have your expenses, how much you spend. And then on the bottom right, there's the gap, which is the difference between your income and your expenses. So your goal is to make it as big as possible. And there's a couple of ways to increase the gap. The first and often easiest way to increase the gap is to decrease your expenses. So a few different ways that you could decrease your expenses. Well, you could decrease your transportation costs, like getting a fuel-efficient vehicle. You could take the bus, you could carpool, things like that. You could decrease your food costs, so maybe eat out less, cook at home more, bring a bag lunch to work. You could try couponing, and I think when it gets to the point where you do have 97 bags of coupons, it is indeed a mental illness. But you can also cancel unused subscriptions. There are lots of different ways that you can decrease the money going out. The next way to increase the gap is to increase your income. Now, the easiest way to do this is to get a job, as this guy says. But there's a few other options. So if you already have a job, you could work overtime. So if you work a few more hours, you might be able to bring in more money. You could get a second job. So you may work full-time 40 hours a week. But if you get a second job, another 20 hours, that'll help you bring in more income to help increase that gap. Additional things you could do, well, you could freelance. Online nowadays, there's tons of work to be had for those people who want to do it. Anyone with computer skills, any other type of skill. If you look at Elance or Odesk or Fiverr, there's lots of opportunities to build wealth. Finally, and my favorite way to increase your income is to start a business. Now, lots of people say starting a business is too hard, they have no idea where to get started. In one of the later modules, I'll go into how to start a business, how to get started doing it. I started from scratch. I didn't know anything when I started, and it just builds, and you'll get better before you know it. But the very best way to increase the gap is to actually do both. So we want to increase our income while at the same time decreasing our expenses. And the best example of this is this guy here down on the left. If you don't recognize him, that's Warren Buffett. And at the time of this recording, he's worth about $59 billion. That's billion with a B. All right? Now, Warren Buffett, he's been an investor for his whole life. He owns Berkshire Hathaway, which is really great investment company. And even though this guy is worth $59 billion, he lives in this little rancher home in Omaha, Nebraska. He drives a Chrysler 500. So he's kind of hitting it on both fronts. He's got a huge income. He doesn't have very high expenses. And because of that, his gap is huge. And he's really able to take that money to invest it to do great things with it. And when you do both, when you increase your income and decrease your expenses, you're really able to get to your financial goals a lot faster. What's really going to make the difference is how bad you want it. I mean, when you want to succeed as bad as you want to breathe, then you'll be successful. When you want to get out of debt as bad as you want to breathe, then you'll get out of debt. Whatever it may be, you've got to want it really bad. And there was something great in this video. You can find it on YouTube. It's called Success, How Bad Do You Want It? But there was something great in this video where the guy says, you're already in pain. Get something out of it. I mean, if you're watching these videos, you're already in pain. You already feel the pain of financial pressures. You're already looking for answers. You're already in pain. Get something out of it. Coming up next, we're going to discuss your financial picture, which is basically taking a look at where you are financially. So stick around, check out the next episode of How to Manage Money Better Academy, and we'll see you there. To your success.